I really want to educate patients on the importance and options that they have in lenses. I think far too often it's almost like ticking a box. It's you need a single vision lens, all right, you get a plastic single vision lens. I could climb a mountain in my high-heeled boots, but I would choose to put on a pair of hiking boots to be more comfortable. So the same goes when it comes to lenses.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast, bringing clarity to business, entrepreneurship, and life. Thank you so much again for tuning in, guys. I am so grateful that you would take the time to spend this time with us here and tune in, because I know there's a million other things that you could be doing right now. And I know for sure you're going to be glad that you tuned in for this one, because I have an incredible guest, somebody I've been trying to get on the show for a little while, but there's a good reason that it's taken a while. She's incredibly busy doing all sorts of amazing things. She is truly an innovator and a leader in the optical industry. She is a founder of the iStyle Influencers. She is the driving force behind a local optical boutique here in Vancouver called Robertson Brown. She's a creator of the blog Optician About Town, which is where you might have seen her before. She is an award-winning optician. She has won Brand Ambassador of the Year with Transitions. She has won Best in Marketing with Transitions, which is really special because she was going up against Goliaths with massive marketing campaigns. So to win that award is amazing. And even more amazing, she is the 2020 Optical Women's Association Visionary Award recipient this year. How incredible is this person? Please welcome Sheena Taff. Thank you so much,
Hi.
Sheena, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Really, truly my pleasure. It's so incredible that you live and work here in Vancouver, like all of these incredible accolades and awards and all this recognition, and you're just such an amazing person and influential person truly in our industry. And you're here in Vancouver. Like, I don't have to fly to New York to talk to you, although I probably will fly to New York and see you there next month anyway. But thank you for doing this. And I just kind of want to jump into it. So you were telling me before we started, this is now your 10th year, or your 10-year anniversary of becoming a licensed optician. What took you, if you can, in a kind of a nutshell, from being an optician to being, an iStyle influencer and award-winning optician?
I think what it really comes down to is my experience in the shop. I came into a business that had been in place very successfully for about 18 years. And I saw that some evolution was necessary. My father is an incredible optician, and I learned amazing skills from him, but he was lacking in the fashion and style department. So that's where I came in.
Right.
Gave the store a facelift, but also kind of rebranded the kind of frame styles that we have in the shop. So it became a little bit more of a focus on styling our patients and making them feel really good. It's very, very disheartening when you work with a patient and they see glasses as a burden. They're not happy to be wearing glasses. They don't feel good in them. And I've even been told it's worse than trying on a bathing suit, which is awful.
Really?
Oof, no thanks.
Wow, that's surprising.
It was about changing people's experience in getting glasses, helping them feel excited about it, and that was really what spawned not only the evolution of Robertson Brown Opticians, but also what kind of gave me the idea to start blogging and sharing the way that we can put together fashion and glasses and create our very own iStyle every day that makes us feel good.
That's amazing. And I want to recognize this beautiful store that we are in. I didn't mention it right off the top, but we are here in Robertson Brown Optician here in Vancouver. And it's beautiful. You can just see, I deliberately picked this corner because I wanted the green and I wanted the wallpaper. Sheena's done an amazing job of designing the place and decorating it. And, it's very much a reflection of you and your style and everything, and it's really cool. But you carry that way outside of the store, right? It's fine. You walk in the store and you say, wow, it's nice in here. Sheena, you did a good job. But you literally, of course, with your blog online, but you're constantly extending and growing and pushing the boundaries of style within the industry. And, I want to say it takes guts to do that. All right. So can you tell me when you found in the last 10 years that you had the ability to go out, push those boundaries, and when did you start writing your blog?
I started writing my blog about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And in all honesty, for the first few months, my blog was live, but I didn't tell anybody about it because it was really just a personal challenge for me to put myself out there. When I initially started just on Instagram, I would never put my face on Instagram.
Really?
My Instagram was my cats and my house and, my baking that I like to do, but I would never really put my face out there. And so my blog was a challenge to showcase my optical style, put myself out there publicly, and share the joys of really, really cool eyewear. And so that is what I challenged myself to do. Did it for a few months very quietly, and then decided to put it out there. And it just from there kind of grew and grew and grew.
That's really good. And do you, after you started doing that blog, did you find that people were starting to reach out to you, or have you made, I imagine, I kind of know the answer to this, but have you made the effort yourself to get out there and reach and connect with new people and people who sort of are aligned with what your idea is in eye style in the industry?
I did, absolutely. I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Transitions. I was very lucky to be invited to join the Transitions Change Agents in the very first year that they founded the group. And I was able to meet very passionate eye care industry insiders. So it was optometrists and opticians, eye care professionals and support staff from all over the US and Canada. Those who really stood out within their industry and within their space, and coming together with very enthusiastic, like-minded people really gave me a network of encouragement and a network of people to learn from, and also to really support one another. And we collaborated on projects, and everybody kind of grew their own little thing together.
That's fantastic, and that's a perfect segue because I wanted to talk a bit about Transition. So, what was what year was that? The first year that you went out there? That
would have been in 2016.
Okay, it's been a few years.
15.
And you just got back,
I
right?
did.
And I was following along on a bunch of people's stories and posts on Instagram, and it looked like an amazing time. So tell us a little bit about what happens what is the name of the event, the Transitions
Academy. So Transitions Academy takes place every year in February, and it varies in size. This year there was 1,100 people from all over North America, including Latin America. Okay. There was even guests from as far as China and different parts of Europe as well. Yeah. So it was a great look at the optical industry on a global scale as well.
Sure, that's fantastic. So if you're allowed to share, what type of things would you do at Transitions Academy?
Transitions Academy is learning about the new technologies that Transitions offers, but more than that, it's personal development, career development. They have some incredible speakers. They've had some TED Talk speakers over the years, people that really help you to grow your enthusiasm for just kind of life in general, not only optical. Good,
that's fantastic. And that's actually a big part of the show is like, it's obviously I'm an optometrist, you're an optician, we're in this industry, but really the message that most guests that I have on the show share is well beyond whatever industry they're from, right? It's about having a passion, having the pursuit, having the growth mindset to do more things. And I think you're a perfect example of that, right? And that was something that we were talking about briefly before as well, is that there are a lot of people who are comfortable sort of staying within the realm of, within the confines of what their profession dictates.
Absolutely.
But this is a time right now where we have so much accessibility for so many different resources. What kind of encouragement would you provide now, whether it's within the optical industry or whether it's outside of it, to somebody who maybe wants to push their boundaries, maybe wants to step outside, but is a little afraid?
I think it's about connecting with people. I mean, people are what drives us in life. It drives our happiness. And I think connecting with others and learning from them is what really grows us as human beings. And you can, take people's bad energy and allow it to affect you, or you can feed others your good energy and watch them kind of come out of their shell and blossom and grow. And I think that that's something I do every day with my patients in the store and make them feel good. And I think that connecting with others, whether it be online or in person, just be the best part of someone's day.
That's fantastic.
My goal every single day is to have someone walk away and think, wow, that person left me feeling really good. I had a great interaction with Sheena. And rather than being, the worst part of someone's day.
Well, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that maybe is a good low bar to set. Is try not to be the most negative person somebody else comes in contact with. But a pretty high bar to set as well is to aim to be that one person that they remember as being the positive in their day. That's pretty cool. And I love that answer of connecting with people, because you are or have become a connector yourself with your iStyle Influencers event. Yes. And I was lucky enough to attend one in
the
Las
first time
Vegas.
we met, it took us getting to another country to meet in person.
I know. Your store is like a 10-minute drive from where I live, yet I had to meet you in Las Vegas. So tell me about where that came from. And just to give a real quick synopsis of the event, Sheena is bringing together like the who's who of the optical industry, the people who are as influential as you could possibly be within this, realm, and even beyond, in fact. And so it's really amazing that you have had that, you've done that to bring those people together. But tell me where that started.
It started with my positive experience through the Transitions Change Agent Group. It was such an eye-opening experience to meet with people from all over the US and Canada. We have similar experiences, but we can also learn so much from one another, because although we practice in the same space, it can often be quite different. So when you go to industry events, there's so much going on. Vision Expo is always an event on my calendar. But if you are going to shows, you have appointments, you're watching speakers, everybody is kind of doing their own thing. And so we really lacked the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation and break bread. So I wanted to create a space and start an event where we could sit down, have a meal together, and really speak and learn from one another and collaborate. And it's incredible what has grown out of those opportunities. And it has also created a space for brands to connect with influencers in the industry, whether it be for medical or fashion or style, to really showcase their products to a larger audience as well.
That's fantastic. So you have been named the Optical Women's Association Visionary of the Year for 2020. So tell me about the Optical Women's Association and the kind of work they do and how your experience with that organization so far.
The OAC is an amazing organization, and it is an organization that really builds their foundation on mentorship. And we are talking about the who's who of the optical industry. And it gives members an opportunity to connect with one another and find mentors to really help guide them through their evolution in the optical industry. And so I became a member after attending their champagne breakfast in New York City, which is a must-attend event.
Sounds fancy.
In Vision Expo East. And it was absolutely incredible to watch this room full of women and a huge number of men who really the number of men attending is growing year after year. But to watch the way that women come together and support one another in this space, and then reach out to new members that are new to the optical industry, older members of the optical industry that are really looking to kind of reinvigorate their passion in their career. And it's been an opportunity for me to meet some of my mentors and really have somebody there that I can reach out to that can relate to my career, the balance of family and career. And I was very lucky to find one of my mentors, Jean Saber, who is an amazing optician out of Minnesota. And her husband was actually the optometrist in their office. And for myself, who works with her husband.
Oh, you do?
I do.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So my husband is the lab technician at Robertson Brown. And so
great.
he works in the back and I work in the front. Great. And so it was an incredible opportunity to meet somebody who really understood and could guide me in how to find that balance between marriage and work and finding that life balance when you're both invested in running a small business. And that is really has, like, I cannot associate, a value on that. It's just invaluable. It's amazing.
Well, definitely one of the most important pieces of advice that I can give to anybody, young or up and coming, is to have good mentors. That's incredibly valuable. In fact, invaluable. You can't put a price on it, because they will be able to guide you through the difficult points, the sticking points where you don't know how to get through, and not just to have one mentor, but to have various mentors in different spaces. But it's amazing that you. And so you met Jean at this event. Is that where you met, or is that?
I met Jean Saber originally through Transitions.
Oh, okay.
And then we reconnected through the OWA, and that's really where our relationship blossomed.
Great.
And I have met incredible women that have become my mentors within that space, and it really made me look at being a member of a group, of an organization, and the importance of joining different forums within the industry. So I'm a very proud member of the Opticians Association of Canada. Great. Because that's a great way to connect, to better ourselves through continuing education, but connect with opticians in all different provinces. And it's fantastic. I highly encourage, small membership fee, but really big payoff.
That's amazing.
For all these things.
In general, as optometrists, I'll speak for myself, but as an optometrist, I like to encourage other ODs to become members of their local organizations, because mainly for connecting, as we've talked about, because that's really the main value there, but for advocacy purposes, right? If you want your profession to grow and to continue to build, we need to have everybody kind of come together and push, as a united force. And we've had some issues in our province for optometry in the last few years, but it's nice to see a lot of people coming together. So that's a great message to share, whatever industry you're in, is try to be kind of connected to it so you can advocate for it. Yeah. I want to go back to your working with your spouse, because I've seen this. Now, I don't work with my wife, and I are in completely different industries, but I've seen this. I've seen various people who do it, or people who ask about it. Can you give some advice? If somebody was curious about what is it like, or what's a good way to maintain the balance, right? Because if you're seeing each other at work and at home, I can imagine it gets a little, tricky sometimes. It's
definitely not for everybody. Yeah. I am very, very blessed, and my husband and I have a great relationship both at work and at home. There are definitely some rules that we created. So we have, a fair commute to and from work. So that is time that we can use to discuss work things. But the minute we hit the door at home, it's done. Okay. So it is wonderful to be on the same team, working together, especially with an independent practice. It comes with, its own challenges, and there is no better feeling to know that we're kind of in it together. And if everything falls down around us, we know we can pick up the pieces and keep building it together. That's great. It is Again, not for everybody, but it works really well for us because I have the best supporter and the best husband.
That's fantastic. Very big disclaimer. It's not for everybody, but I think communication is kind of the key to everything in relationships. But it's nice that you have that boundary there, very distinct. Like walk in the door, you change, your conversation. Exactly. That's good to have, because otherwise, I bet work could permeate every aspect of your life, and that would get very tiresome.
It can, when, certainly in any career and any job, there are challenges that come up. And sometimes it takes a very focused concentration on not letting it seep into different parts of your life. But after about 5 years now, we've really found the balance in keeping it at work and then home and play and family together.
That's much better. All right, so let's shift over a bit more to the style side of things. I wanted to ask you some questions about frames and lenses and things like that, right? So more short answer, if you will, but like, what is the style right now that you would recommend for women? Is there a shape, a style, a bold or not so bold? What would you say 2020 is the thing?
I think 2020, we're definitely pulling away from thick, heavy, bold frames, where metals are coming back. So thinner, finer, lighter metals, very strong architectural shapes. Okay. So just because a frame is finer and thinner or more translucent doesn't mean it has to be boring. Mm-hmm. So I think that while there's always a place for a classic, black frame in every wardrobe, I think that considering a lighter frame is also significantly more comfortable. So
True.
It's great.
Yeah, that's excellent. And what about colors? Any specific colors that you think are on trend right now?
Definitely lots of blush colors. Okay. So translucent frames have been kind of seeping into the more mainstream wear for a couple years now, but translucent frames with a little hint of color. So a little bit of smoke for a men's frame, just that little bit of gray or blue in a translucent frame is very flattering. I think color for men is a really great idea and something that a lot of men shy away from, should absolutely consider. Yeah. And blush pinks and translucent peachy tones are very, very popular for women.
Great. Do you have, and I apologize if there's any kind of conflict of interest here, but what are your top 3 designers right now in the optical industry for frames?
When it comes to frames, I really love Andy Wolf. I have many Andy Wolfs. I'm wearing one now in my collection. It's a very versatile collection. So if you're very conservative, they have conservative frames, or they have very eccentric, bold frames. Etnia Barcelona is another collection that I really, really like. Again, it's a very diverse collection of frames, but they meld together different patterns and colors of acetates together in a really, really fun and really standout way. Yeah. And last but not least, that's hard to narrow it down to 3. I think my third choice would have to be kind of a newcomer to my optical shop, which is Gigi Barcelona. They do some really beautiful, very fine, thin metal frames, but in very, very bold colors and shapes. All
right, awesome. How about lenses? I think I have an idea where you lean on this, but let's say you have somebody who's picked a nice Andy Wolf frame, and they're looking for just single vision lenses. You have a suggestion? This is maybe more for the people in the optical industry here who might be interested.
I think this is a really important conversation for even, just an eyeglass wearer or somebody who wants to know more. As an optician, I really want to educate patients on the importance and options that they have in lenses. I think far too often it's almost like ticking a box. It's you need a single vision lens. All right, you get a plastic single vision lens. But there is so much more to lenses, and the difference between the quality of lenses is very, very broad. So you can get a really inexpensive plastic lens, or you can get a premium single vision lens. And we're just talking single vision lenses. Oftentimes consumers just think it's the same thing, but they're very, very different. So I prescribe all of my patients to get a single vision digital lens. The optics of a digital lens are far superior to a regular plastic lens, surface lens. And I encourage many of my patients to consider getting an iZen lens or a lens that has a minor power boost, because our eyes are just so overtaxed looking at our phones all the time. And it's not necessarily that we need that, but if we had it, we would be more comfortable.
For sure.
So I like to use the comparison to my patients is, I could climb a mountain in my high-heeled boots, but I would choose to put on a pair of hiking boots to be more comfortable. So the same goes when it comes to lenses. You could get by with just a single vision lens, or you could really add comfort and joy of visual clarity with a premium single vision lens that has some special features like a power boost or a smart blue filter to add that comfort, and of course transitions add style and protection.
I had a feeling that was coming at some point. That's awesome.
Not paid.
But I was more than happy to have you throw that little boost, that promo in there. But it's fantastic to hear you talk that way, and I knew you would, of course, because you're so passionate about what you do. But I spend a lot of time having that conversation with patients as well, and it's unfortunate. It's not the patient's fault, but the industry has kind of led patients to kind of feel that I can just buy any cheap, simple plastic lens with whatever basic coating, and that will get you by. Yeah. But there are so many options out there that can improve the quality of your vision, the performance, especially because a lot of our work is on screens to help us function a lot better. All right, great. So the last two questions that I asked to all my wonderful guests. Number one, if we could step in a time machine and go back in time to a point in your life, you don't have to explain necessarily if you don't want to that specific point, but you could go back to a point where you think you might have needed some advice, and what advice would you give yourself at that time?
I think it would probably be in 2009. And I was at a point in my life where I had worked very hard to get to a certain point in my previous career as a financial advisor. Okay. And I had gotten into a car accident, and I wasn't able to work, and I was very lost as to getting back and building up to where I had been, or doing something different. I thought I was really I had built so much up and worked so hard to get to a particular place, and then it kind of stopped, and I felt like my momentum stopped, and I didn't know what to do. As luck would have it, in 2010, the Olympics came to Vancouver, and my parents wanted to get out of town, so they needed some extra help in the optical shop, and here I am 10 years later. That's
amazing. I didn't realize that your journey in the industry started with the Olympics, because we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary right now. That was a good time. That's great. And so what kind of advice would you give to somebody who is at that sort of transition point in their life, or maybe wants to take a step in a certain direction? Is there any kind of motivation you would want to give them?
I think it's not being afraid to try something new. It had been 2 years of schooling that I had done, and much education in building a patient portfolio and making those connections and those relationships, and then it all kind of stopped, and I thought that was all for nothing. And funny enough, that math was never my strong suit prior to becoming a financial advisor, which I learned I had a love of math and numbers. And that turned out to be an incredible building block to becoming an optician, because it taught me how to problem solve. It taught me how to have a kind of a very definite answer into the calculations. And there are such very, very long calculations involved in getting your license to become an optician.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think had I not had that foundation, I would have run screaming from all that algebra.
Yeah, that's true. There is actually, that's something I didn't expect going to optometry either. Obviously, we had to learn optics. So physics and math kind of came into the fold there. All right, so the last question is, now you have accomplished a lot in this 10 years in this industry, and I know you're going to accomplish a lot more based on your trajectory right now. But where we are now, how much of it would you say is due to hard work and how much due to luck?
I would say it's probably about 98% hard work. I think, I was lucky to have the opportunity to come into this industry. But I've witnessed my parents work in this industry for a very long time, and it was only the hard work that I put in, not only in the shop, but outside the walls of this business. And there's been many times where I have overextended myself, and I am working 7 days a week.
Wow.
Evenings and weekends, but the results have been incredible, and I don't say no a lot, so I just want to keep it rolling.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you again, Sheena, for doing this.
Thank
I'm
you.
super grateful, again, based on everything that you've done and everything that you are doing. I'm so glad that you had the time to do this with me here. Where can people connect with you? I want to make sure everybody can reach you.
So you can follow me on my blog, opticianabouttown.com, on Instagram, the same, Optician About Town, and I am here, there, and everywhere, as well as on the pages of Eye Care Business. If you're in the industry, I have a monthly column, and I like to share my best practices for running an optical shop.
That's amazing. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch if you are watching on YouTube. And as always, my small request that if you did find some value, and I'm sure you did because Sheena's incredible, if you did find some value, please share it with a friend. If you're watching or listening on your phone, take a screenshot, post it on your Instagram story, and tag us both. Let us know what you thought. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. And of course, if you're listening on a podcast app, subscribe and give us a rating as well. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again for the next episode. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Awesome.